that Billy can't come. It's just me, Wolf, and you. But yeah, don't mind the background noise. I'm gonna do something real quick. I will be.
All right. I'll wait till food's ready because he's the key to all this. He's recording.
Hey, I am back. Sorry about that.
It's cool. Yeah, I'm ready.
Oh, fuck! Okay. There we go. Okay.
What are you guys watching?
So, whenever you're ready, Fets. Do we need, like, a software or anything?
I plan for us to just be going off mine. You can follow along if you want, or you can wait and follow along with the recording, or you can never follow along at all. Why should I care?
Okay.
I'll be going pretty slow, and this isn't super interactive. It's just so that if you have questions, you can ask them. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah, okay, I'm just trying to open up.
Okay.
Okay, sweet. Can you all see that?
Yeah, I can see that.
Excellent. Because right off the bat, here's what I've got. I've got a terminal here, and then we got a little web server running.
Okay.
The first thing I did is just a test document, and that's exactly what it looks like. It's just a test document. It literally, if we view the page source, there's no HTML at all. It's just the word test.
Okay.
Now, this isn't a server tutorial, but I will go ahead and say if you just Google the word lamp stack, or if you just Google the word Apache and then whatever operating system you're running, that will give you a very basic web server that you can follow along with.
Okay.
Now, because Apache does this, and again, any web server you install will follow suit. It's basically set the standard. you're going to be naming your first document index.html. And that's just so that when you go here, you don't actually have to write a specific file name. Index.html is automatically the default one it navigates to.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and open up index.html. Now, what I'm doing here is this is just a regular text editor in the terminal. I'm using it because this is a Linux virtual machine and it comes with this text editor.
Okay.
You can use whatever you want. You can use Notepad. You can use Notepad++. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Now, a good thing about Nano is that it does have syntax highlighting, so you'll notice this text will change colors to show me where I am and what I'm doing.
Like how Discord does when you put the symbols around it?
Yeah, see that?
Yeah.
So this is the most important tag. HTML is based in tags. No actual programming languages are, but HTML is a markup language, which is different. And part of that means it's just tags. These tags, essentially, this browser goes one tag at a time, and in order to determine what it should be showing. And HTML is the most important one, because that's the one that says, hey, this isn't any other tag-based language, this is HTML.
Okay.
From there, I type head. Head is basically, if you consider this area that you're looking in, the body, head is the information that the browser sees and does not display. So we can put something like the title of the web page in there, and let's go ahead and do that. So here we also see our first closing tag. This is title, this is the closing tag, and this will show us what the title of the document is.
Okay.
There's more stuff you can put in the header, but just to keep it simple for right now, I'm going to go ahead and close it off because that's all we need at this specific moment.
Okay.
So now we move on to the body. And here we can do a few things. Little known fact, the reason it's called HTML Hypertext Markup Language is because it was originally built for just text. And that's important to know just because there's a lot of decisions that seem a little weird. HTML's design seems a little weird, but it was never made for something like this. It was made for essentially document viewers, for stripped down versions of Microsoft Word, and it's just sort of expanded from there.
Okay.
Everything's just been sort of added on over time. But let's put something in here. We'll probably want to start a new paragraph, and that's just the P tag.
Okay.
Go ahead and close that off. These aren't case sensitive. If I put capital P in there, that would have worked just fine. Used to, tags were put in all caps. That was the standard. Now the standard is to put them all lowercase. It just looks a little nicer. It's personal preference. It's just as valid however you want to do it.
Okay.
And I'll close the rest of this out so that we can just see what it looks like. So what I did just there, you can see the rotate lines. That means I've saved it. And if we refresh over here, we can see it.
Okay.
So there it is. There's our paragraph, and you can tell it's a paragraph because there's a difference between a paragraph and a new line in HTML.
Drop him! That's the best you can come up with.
A simple thank you would suffice.
They were doing fine drowning me without your help.
Maybe we should have let them.
Why are they trying to kill you anyway?
Termarines. That's what they
What
do.
happened?
Talmarines. In Narnia.
She's so fun.
Where have you been for
You
the
are
last
dirty.
few hundred years?
Stop.
Such a long story.
Maybe Jesus. Snuggle as chula. Yeah.
God's take his away. You're it. You're the kings and queens of old.
Have some pizza. Magnificent.
Probably could have left off the last bit.
Probably.
You might be surprised.
Oh, you don't want to do that, boy.
Not me. Him.
Oh, you're right.
Come on, Chico.
Bedsteads. Maybe that horn worked after all.
What horn?
So what's going on right now?
Wolf said he had a bad connection, so
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've just full screened the screen share for the purpose of the recording. So,
all right, he's back.
okay, sweet.
So the important thing to note is that each of these are elements. If we open up the developers tools, actually, you can sort of see a visual representation of how each is processed. So this is the HTML tag, inside that's the body, inside that's our paragraph tag. And it just sort of doesn't. And that's a good way to visualize it.
Yeah.
Just because there's two types of elements, essentially. There's stuff like these, which are blocks. But there's also span, which is like inline. So
You know, it's funny that you would ask that. You think more people would know a badger when they saw one? No, I mean, your Narnians, they're supposed to be extinct. Sorry to disappoint you. Here you go. Still.
So what's the difference between using span and p again? Sorry? P is like just that whole section, and then span is just a little block.
yeah, and a better example even might be the A tag, because that's how you link people from place to place.
I suppose. I've only lived this long because he got an air of his own. Changes things. Yeah. Means we don't have to kill you ourselves. You're right. Where are you going? My uncle wants stuff tonight, dear. But you can't be. You're meant to save us. Don't you know what
Oh wait. So the A is like a span, except it it's a hyperlink with the word.
Right. You can put whatever you want inside an A tag, and everything inside there will be a link.
Okay, that's pretty neat. So if you
So the,
added a word behind does and then closed the tag, then it would include both of those words.
Guardians believed it could summon their kings and queens of old.
Okay, that's pretty neat.
Was the superstition. And what does custom this station? My lord, you forbade me from mentioning the old tale. So I did. I will say this. If Caspian does know of the deep magic, my lord would have good reason to be nervous. First our prince, now his tutor. If the members of Midas' house
um,
safe, or any of us. No, Sebastian!
so there's obviously a lot more to HTML than I'm showing you, but these are the basics, essentially. I'll go ahead and show an image tag, although I don't have an image. So
I can get you an image. Hold on. Here, I'll post an image in chat.
So image is bracket img. There is
Here, I'll get you a link too.
there's also a picture tag
Whoops.
that works pretty well. It's the new version, but you'll find img is just more popular because that's what people have been using. That's what people know how to use. So there's different features, but generally you'll find img is what to use.
Okay. Yeah, and you'd put the link to the image rather than like a file location, wouldn't you?
Well, the cool thing about how servers work is they are essentially file browsers. So,
so you could put either one?
right. If I don't have copy and paste set up on here, so I just made a short link real quick.
Whoa, what
All
up?
right. So now if we go to where I saved that file, food.jpg. Oh, I messed something up. But you can see there, the image is here. I just didn't download it right.
Yeah.
Don't move, Your Majesty!
Oh, okay. That's pretty neat. That's really neat. I, yeah, I didn't know that. Because whenever I use the inspect element on like a website, I mean, I don't know how to add a file location, but I don't know if I can do that either, so I always just use the link.
I can hear you. I just think we should wait for the kings and queens. Fine, go then. See if the others will be as understanding. Maybe I'll come with you.
Uh,
I want to see you explain things to the Minotaurs. Minotaurs? They're real. And very bad tempered. Yeah, not to mention big, huge. What about centaurs? Do they still exist? Well, the centaurs will probably fight on your side. There's no telling what the others will do. What about Aslan?
How do you know so much about us?
Stories? Wait a minute. Your father told you stories about Narnia? No, my professor. Listen, I'm sorry. These are not the kind of questions you should be asking.
What is it?
Human.
Him?
Den.
oh, what? I just gave a big monologue and realized I pushed my push to talk long. Right.
Yeah,
Um,
I figured
So,
because I saw a change, and so I was like, you muted? But I didn't.
so this is the style tag. You put your CSS in here. I'm just doing this just so I don't have to open up a second text editor. If you are ever working on a website professionally or even for yourself, I recommend that you add a separate CSS style sheet so that A, it makes your HTML file easier to manage, and B, if you've got a website with, say, more than one page, you don't have to copy and paste CSS every time you make a change to one, you know?
Yeah.
So it speeds up your website for the user, and it speeds up the development process for you. But in this specific case, I am going to do it inline here.
Okay.
So don't do this. This is just so that you know a little bit of CSS. The most important thing to know about CSS is that it uses what are called selectors. Essentially, it's got a formula for determining each of these, picking an element for one. There's a few kinds of selectors. There's some really advanced ones. Again, like HTML, CSS gets very, very advanced, and I'm only going to show you just a little bit of what's possible, just so you understand what's going on, and you know, more or less so that if you do decide to pursue this, you know what to Google. There is so much and so many things that are so specific that it's not worth even trying to show everything, because even if I got through it all, it'd be out of date by the time I finished.
Yeah. Okay.
So let's start with our first selector. Let's select, since we only have one, let's select every A tag.
What's the problem with girls? Can't carry them back with your heads.
Okay.
And that's done by literally just typing the word A, and now CSS knows we're styling the A tags.
Okay.
Let's change their color to, I don't know, red. And this way we got red links, and everyone's impressed. Right, your mother, you got red links.
Okay. Red links.
Look, literally change the color to red.
You're mistaken.
Wow, my god. Red links. See, this is how you know you're at the top.
Oh yeah. So now, this is my first HTML file. It's a really important statement. So what if we make this text a little bigger?
This is where more CSS comes in.
That's right. There's so what we need to do is we can't do this for all p tags because there are p tags that aren't this, right?
Yeah.
So what we need to do is add something to this to make it stand out to CSS. And there's two ways to do that.
He was back. I wanted us to follow him.
There's class, which you can set like this.
Just let that bear.
I think I know Azam when I see him.
Okay.
And there's ID, which you can set like this. And there's a few things class and ID have in common, and that is CSS can grab them. But there's actually a reason you would pick one over the other. It's mainly differences. So ID is exactly what you'd expect. It's an ID, and part of that means is you have to have it unique. If I set this p tag to ID h1, none of these other p tags are allowed to have h1, or none of these other tags in general. Not a single other tag in this document can have the ID h1 because it's unique.
Okay.
Class doesn't have to be unique. So that's your fun fact. It doesn't have to be unique.
So, like, in a situation where you don't want to keep on, like, reusing, or, like, oh, no. In a situation where you don't want to keep making new code on, like, a website or whatever, and you have multiple, like, headings or subheadings, then you'd use a bunch of class and then just copy and paste.
Right. Instead of copying and pasting the CSS to one of each ID, you would just set the class to heading for each of them.
Yeah. Okay.
And you can set multiple classes too by just adding a space. So now this is in the heading class and the green class here. And let's go ahead and show you how to use classes with CSS. So as you can see, all I have to do is hit a dot, and it knows whatever characters follow it, up to the space, are the class it's defining. So dot says it's a class, heading specifies that it's a heading class, and this space right here shows that that's the end of the class name.
Okay, so if you wanted to, like, combine it, like, with the heading green, then you'd use an underscore or something like that?
No, I'll go to that second thing in a second, but
Okay.
let's
Okay.
go ahead and specify the heading real quick. Let's make the font size, I don't know, 48 pixels. That's real big.
Yeah, that's pretty big. So this is a really important heading.
That's right. So we also have a green class here. Let's go ahead and define that. So as you can see, dot and then green says that this next thing we're writing is for the green class. Everything in these brackets obviously applies to the selector before it. There are ways to use multiple selectors, but again, let's not worry about that for right this second.
Yeah.
soldiers and weapons.
So the green class makes stuff green. It's good to have good names.
Yeah. Except
So if
not
we
when.
refresh now, you can see this is
Oh,
big.
yeah.
This is,
That's pretty neat.
and the way CSS works is you're actually allowed to have conflicting rules because sometimes stuff in the green class may need to override stuff before it. So the way it chooses is essentially just
Top, bottom, in
top
order.
down. Yeah.
Okay.
The official order is external files are lowest priority, followed by inline styles, followed by styles. Here you can set, followed by styles set by JavaScript.
Okay.
So JavaScript gets top priority. These get second priority, and files get last priority.
Okay.
From there, it goes top down. And I can prove that by changing the font size in green.
So Aslan,
I wish you'd all stop trying to sound like grown-ups. I don't think I saw or did see him.
I never know.
It was
So even though this is a member of heading, it's still got the smaller font size because it's a green.
Okay. So whichever whichever line of code it loads last is the line that it goes with.
Right.
Okay.
And that's useful too if you're using like an HTML template or what have you, because then you can override it if you need to, if you want to change the colors or whatever. You don't have to go in and redo everything.
Lucy, are you awake? What do you think Brian's going to say, Aslan?
So now you can see, because its heading's at the bottom here, that it did go ahead and reset the font size.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, what if we wanted to do this just by this ID? Because sometimes we want that. Sometimes the ID is more useful. It's much more useful with JavaScript, where you'll actually need to keep track of IDs. But let's not worry about that right now. Let's go ahead and just show you how to apply the CSS to something with an ID. So the symbol for an ID is just a hash,
Okay.
hash h1. And for that, the font size is 40 pixels. And sure enough, you guessed it, that works like that.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of this stuff is the way it is, because this was made back when web browsing didn't look like this at all. It looked like this.
Oh.
So you can see there's our link, there's our text. it recognizes that an image is there, but it can't display it. And so that's why things sort of are the way they are, is because a lot of this was based around formatting text. Some of these old browsers could handle the colors of text as well.
Hmm.
Bueno, pues ya salimos.
No es bueno.
Eso solo es en la película.
Baby, why are you going to help us?
Things never happen the same way twice, dear one.
Since again, P is a block, that means it's a block with a background already. By default, that's just transparent, but we can set it here. What goes well with green? Red.
Yeah. That looks a bit pixely.
Okay, Dad, guess what page I'm on?
Dang, that's really low res.
What? What?
Does that help?
That's yeah. Oh, that's great.
Just say
But yeah, that's pretty neat.
Um,
so that's how many.
let's take a look here. So that's sort of what spans are good for as well. I mentioned spans earlier. You can set a class an ID. You can set a class and ID to just a span, and this way you can change the color within the middle of the line, like you can here, without making a link or upsetting the flow of the text.
Yeah.
And that's what spans are for.
Yeah, it's a good book.
Prince Caspian? Yes.
Um,
Who are you?
let's see here. I don't know what to do next. What's the most important? I'll go ahead and show you one of the most important things in terms of layout, and that's width and height of block. So this is certainly a beautiful looking website, but counterpoint, not at all. So let's see what we can do with this. Let's try. I mean, really, the colors are the big part. Oh, I forgot one thing. In the same way you can adjust all the tags here, body is one of those tags you can adjust. So if we want a background to the entire page, we can do that.
Some of you can handle the page.
Yes, indeed. And I have recently put it to good use, securing weapons for your armies.
Good.
Sometimes when you need data from something else in CSS, you can use They're sort of dynamic things, and one of those is you can load images into the background category by specifying their URL. So literally just writing URL and then in parentheses the URL you want. So in our case, /food.jpg.
Enough weapons and armor for two.
Yes.
But there's more. You were right to fear the gods.
Oh god, that is trippy. That's that's cool. That's cool.
How many men did you lose? None. They came like ghosts in the dead of night. We never saw them. Then how do we explain them to this? I asked. How many men were killed during this bloody Nanian attack?
Hey, yeah, that's pretty neat.
General. How many? I apologize, Lord President. Caspian is not a victim of savage uprising.
¿Se vaya en el caballo blanco?
It seems Nani is immune to any king.
Wait, how is that only changing the color of the font?
Wow.
Also, if you're talking, we can't hear you.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Malcontents, miners.
I'm on a Mac, but I'm using a Linux thing, so I keep getting control and command mixed up because
Okay.
command does what control does on Linux. So sorry about that. That's why I keep fucking up my push to talk.
I mean, you could just set your mic to open. But I don't know.
All right, can you hear me?
I can, in fact, hear you.
Okay, I wasn't going to set my mic to open because I don't have headphones, so I was worried there'd be echo, but let's just power through. So the reason you asked, why does color only change the font color? And that's because that's sort of what I was touching on when I showed the text browser, because back in the day, that was the only thing there was to change the color of. And they didn't want to break websites, so they just added background color as an option. So this background red is how you change the background color, the color behind the font.
Yeah.
So that's essentially why that is. The reason they didn't set color to the reason they set color to only change the color of the font is because that's the only option when they started, and by the time they finished, too many people had already made websites using the old way, so they didn't want to change it and break everyone's website.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that's sort of why I wanted to start with like a history of HTML, because like I said, there's a lot of decisions made like this that made a lot of sense back at the time, and now that it's no longer the 90s, it's a little confusing to people who are used to it being a different way. I'm really glad you asked that question. Let's see here. let's go ahead and create a CSS file, and this way you'll know how to add one if you want to do things the correct way, as I mentioned earlier. So I just called this style.css. Unlike index, this doesn't have any particular reason I call it style, because they are cascading style sheets. So it's just a name. You can name it anything you want. No benefit. So let's paste our CSS in there.
It's got cool colored text.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's got better colored text than our actual final document does, but whatever.
Yeah, we don't need to worry about that.
So now, let's just delete all our inline style here, now that we've got it pasted over to another document. And I will teach you how to link CSS. And that's called actual link. Now, this is another one of those confusing decisions, because the link tag is not the same as the tag that does links, which is the A tag.
Oh, yeah.
It still uses href. So just /style.css. And then all we have to do is specify what it is we're linking, which is with the type, and that's just a text file that is going to act as our style sheet. So text/style sheet. And we'll close this out.
Okay.
I'm going to hit enter here so that we can see the whole thing.
Why does it require the href?
So that we know where it is.
Okay.
So the href equals, because you can put these in whatever order you want, so the way it knows what you're specifying, what's a URL, and what's the type, is by saying href equals this and type equals this.
Okay.
And it looks like I did not do that right. Oh, I'm dumb. It's not href, it's src. Isn't it? What am I doing wrong? You've suddenly lost all faith in me. Oh.
Yes, every single ounce of faith in you has been lost.
So I was right. It's href. It's not text/style sheet. It's text/css. Right? What am I? Oh, okay. I just had to look it up. A lot of web IDEs will type this out for you, so you don't need to memorize it unless you're doing a tutorial on this exact thing, in which case it would have been really useful to have looked it up first.
Well, you know, this is being recorded, so, we can refer back to this.
That's great. So fast forward to this moment where I got it right.
This exact moment.
And again, I'm putting a new line here just so that you can see all of it at once. Since HTML ignores new lines, as I showed here, it's not going to affect anything. This is purely presentational. And in fact, I could remove all the new lines and just leave the tags as they are, and since it goes by tags, that won't affect the HTML file at all.
Okay.
Just a fun fact. So here is what I forgot. It's rel equals style sheet. So that's how you tell the browser that it's a style sheet, is by setting rel equals style sheet.
Okay.
Height is so that it knows how to open the file, and rel is so that it knows what to do once it's opened it.
Okay.
So, sorry that took so long.
It's all good. Our faith in you has been partially restored.
Oh, hooray! Let's see here. What else can we do? Because I'm trying to think. I mean, I know other things. It's just like I'm trying to think what's most important.
Well, yeah, you're not trying to dump everything on us with varied complexities in one session.
All right, I'll tell you what. This isn't the best way to do width, so let's show you the best way to do width, which is with CSS.
Okay. Interesting. I am very intrigued.
So we'll create, for image tags, we'll set our width, 100%. And again, just so you know, this isn't inherent to images, this width thing. If you can do this for any block type, so we can see here for head, we can set the width to 50%. And when we refresh, it's only limiting itself to half the screen because we set the width to 50%.
Oh, you can really fuck with that.
And I mean, yeah. You can really fuck with that. Or you can build with it. That's the basis of how all websites are built. It's just a combination of different CSS values. That's how layouts work. HTML and CSS. Any styling you do with something like JavaScript, all that's doing is automating. It's just generating CSS. At the end of the day, everything you can do with CSS in terms of layouts. So Discord, like, even.
All of the visual effects that you see on your whatever is almost always CSS.
Yeah. Or JavaScript automating CSS. A lot of the animations are just JavaScript animating these values.
Okay.
So just changing these values once for each frame per second is literally how it's done. CSS has some animation properties built in, but they're not very popular. I like them, but that's just because I hate JavaScript.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yep. Also, if you do CSS animations, you get that nice GPU acceleration.
Oh, CSS accelerates your GPU?
Yeah, because it's built directly into the browser, as opposed to JavaScript, which, you're writing everything yourself.
Yeah.
JavaScript actual programming, but CSS is built directly into the browser, so it's running directly on your hardware.
Yeah.
And you can use everything available. So, yeah. What if we set this with 90%? But we would like this over a bit because everything's left aligned and that looks really dumb. But oh, are you going as well?
No, 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 no.
No, you're just saying bye to him.
Yeah, I'm just
All
saying
right.
bye to Wolf.
I was worried there'd be nobody here.
No,
Um,
I'm. See, the thing is with me is that I really want to learn stuff like this. It's just like whenever I like look up like a YouTube tutorial or some shit, and, you know, typing shit in a terminal and doing some shit. Like it can't keep me interested that much
well,
because
a
it's
lot of
like
people they show the setup of how they got there, and again, that's all stuff you can Google. I'm just trying to show you how this stuff works, so that when someone explains it to you, you understand what's going on.
yeah. Okay.
So this is sort of a prerequisite to learning it, to self-teaching. You know, this is what you need to know.
What are you doing?
Okay.
It's supposed to be in the game.
That's helpful.
So we've got this
It's a nice photo.
extra 10% here since I set the width to 90. And
Yes.
what we can do is add padding to this, 10% of padding.
Now we get to it.
And, oh, it'd be 5% on each side if I want to center it.
Caspian, this won't make things
And you
worse.
can see now
Yeah, but it's
that this is centered, even though it hasn't grown any larger. Because there's 5% padding on this side and 5% padding on this side.
Stop staring at
And we don't really need padding on this side though, and we don't need padding here, so we can actually specify padding dash left, and you can see now that this padding's gone away, and this padding's still here, because we're just affecting the left padding.
Okay.
And that allows us to move it around the page, is essentially what that does. And that's good for for something like Discord, you know. If we're using that as a reference, everything's spaced out different amounts. If you look on the sidebar here, and I can't put this in the recording because I don't have Discord open on the virtual machine.
Yeah.
Oh, let's just open up an actual website on the virtual machine. Why not? So we can show people. Literally any website will do. So you can see that it's not just all top left here.
Yeah. It's like
There's
all
padding
centered.
to bring this Google logo down to here. There's padding for this space between the search bar and here. There's even padding between these two buttons. Obviously, there's a lot more going on than that.
Yeah.
But for the sake of right now, now you know that padding is something that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can actually see this visualized here. Here it's in one big div with that green part is the padding, and that or the margin, which is very similar. And this blue part's the actual element, so you can see how it's being pushed down.
Okay. So if you like edited that HTML and then just removed the little margin bit, then it would go to the top.
Yeah, see that?
Oh, okay.
If we just disable margin here, it shoots up.
Okay, that's pretty neat. Google looks way worse that way.
Yeah, I guess they added that line on purpose. Who knew?
Oh no.
So let's explore margin. Because margin and padding are real similar, so it's good to know the difference. A lot of web browsers add padding and margin automatically. You can see there's, even though we didn't specify it, there it is here. So I set this to 0px, so you can see that that actually does reduce the margin between the two, setting this to 0, because it wasn't 0 before.
Yeah.
And the same way, this was blue, even though we didn't set it to be blue. Once we set it to be, we can set it to red to override it. But my point is that because we're used to web pages looking a certain way, browsers all come with their own default set of styles, and CSS is overriding those.
Okay.
But it's important to know that those styles do exist, even though we don't see them, even though we can override them. Not everything starts out at 0 automatically.
Yeah.
So that's what this line here is doing. It looks like it's not adding anything, but it's not. It's just stopping the browser from adding anything.
Okay.
Another thing we can do is, it looks like there's still some margin here, and that's the margin on this line actually. It's the space between here. And I really want these closer together. So what can I do? I'm going to set this to -10 margin, and you can see that actually does work as well. You can set them to negative values.
Okay.
And that works for percentage values as well. You can see that's now closer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's just a, I don't know, probably not super useful, just a fun fact.
Yeah, that's pretty neat.
Yeah. So let's show the difference between padding and margin. So this is best shown in the inspect element, just because when I do that, I can just set the, basically I don't have to refresh when I do it in the inspect element. It's the only difference.
Okay.
So you can see as padding goes up here, that red area goes up, right?
Yeah.
So that's what's actually doing is making the block bigger, adding padding to the block. It's right.
Okay. So if
when I
you
do margin, it's padding the outside of the block, the space around it. So you can see that red area isn't getting bigger; it's just getting more space around it.
Oh, okay.
And essentially, that's the difference between padding and margin.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty neat.
And again, I'm not expecting you to memorize all this stuff. This is the type of thing that you can just fuck around with stuff until you figure it out. Or even
Yeah.
just Google. You can type margin CSS into Google, and I guarantee you'll get a result. I'm not the first person to talk about this. Oh, yeah, one quick thing. Developer Tools doesn't know where you're hosting the website. So by default, if I were to set this to 100 px and then refresh, it doesn't affect anything because Firefox, is what's doing the developer tools, and it doesn't know how to save the changes. It doesn't know where the actual file is on my computer, or if it's on my computer. It's a web browser.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just an important thing to note. do experiment with the developer tools. Don't forget that they don't affect your website permanently. So,
Yeah, I've had experience with that because, I go and do something on Google, right? And then I refresh the page, then it's all reset.
right, and it's easy to lose track of that when you're developing your own website because it's pretty obvious that Google obviously isn't going to let whoever just change whatever on their site because that'd be dangerous. You could
Yeah.
just fuck shit up. So, but on your own website, when you're used to being able to make changes, it's hard. It's hard to forget that that doesn't save changes. So I figured I'd just put a reminder in there.
Yeah.
Um, Another thing is, and I'm only. Oh yeah, this is in red because I don't think this is one of those self-closing things. Yeah.
Ask him.
Oh. So
There was still time.
it's getting mad at me. This is red because I didn't put doc type
Just stay here like I suggested.
HTML. And that's essentially what this does. But there's actually multiple versions of HTML.
Okay.
So what I could do here is specify like XHTML, which has a few different features, or HTML4. You've probably heard that we're on HTML5 now.
Yeah.
But if I wanted to use an older version, if I was using an older version, that's how I would tell the browser that.
Okay.
But if you just want to use the latest version of HTML with all its features, you just write that the doc type is HTML.
So you don't write the tag HTML, you write the tag doc type HTML?
You write both.
Oh, for the new version?
Yeah.
Okay.
There are very rare cases where you're going to be using a doc type that isn't HTML. If you want to write valid HTML, you put both. But very rarely is your doc type going to look anything different from this.
Okay.
I wish this virtual machine were a bit bigger because stuff's getting cut off.
Yeah. Or, hold on, I have a question. So you
Yeah.
said something about very rarely I'll ever see a doc type that isn't HTML.
Yeah.
Well, what if I were, like, inspecting or some shit on, like, an HTML5 programmed browser, or, like, client game?
Right. HTML. This specifies the version. So you'll likely see doc type HTML still because HTML5 is the latest version. So
Oh, okay. I'm
that's
just
all.
retarded.
This is
then.
saying this is an HTML document. This line here, and this line up top is specifying use the latest version of HTML, which is the same for your client-side HTML5 game.
Okay.
You're actually more likely to see a different doc type, not you looking at newer stuff, but rather looking at older stuff.
Okay.
Because doc types used to be very long and weird. Let's take a look here. So yeah, there's what you're supposed to put now if you're using regular old HTML. But back in the day, it looked like this.
Oh, good
This is
God.
how you use HTML4.
That doesn't look bueno.
Yeah. So HTML5, one of the features. A lot of people were talking about a lot of the new features in HTML5. The type of stuff even that allowed Discord to be stuff like Discord to be possible, because HTML5 came out a while ago. But one of the underrated features is not having to type all this shit Uh,
Yeah, that looks like a huge pain in the ass.
and here's if you're using XHTML.
Yeah, that doesn't look fun.
Yeah. So that's why you have to write it. It's just sort of one of those legacy things. They've tried to make it as easy as possible. But again, if you're writing valid HTML, you still have to write it.
Yeah. I mean, I'd still prefer this than fucking XHTML doc type.
Yeah. Also, XHTML is really weird because it's a cross between HTML and XML. And so there's weird features added and weird features missing. And I don't fuck with that.
Yeah.
It's great if you're developing exclusively for Internet Explorer. But other than
Oh
that,
god. Oh god. Is that
there
why
was a
Internet
time a while
Explorer is
back.
always so slow?
There was a time a while back where Internet Explorer was the best browser on the market.
Interesting.
Yeah, and actually, there was a time. That's because Microsoft, I believe, just bought the best browser on the market and then stopped updating it, and that's why it's kind of slowed down. And
Oh,
now they're putting work into it again, but they're really far behind.
yeah, that sounds the way. Cause yeah, I mean they in Windows 10 they updated when whatever the fuck it was to whatever the fuck it is now. I don't pay attention to it because it's the shittiest right now. So
Now you'll notice I haven't at all specified about breakpoints like I've been talking about with Waffle.
yeah.
Because in my opinion, those are advanced techniques. For some reason, Waffle School has taught him breakpoints, but they did not teach him about classes, which
Oh,
absolutely blows my mind. And I just want to say I think I'm right on this one. Classes were very important.
I'd say they are. Yeah.
Yeah, so, because that's why, in case you were wondering what it was I was freaking out about when Waffle sent me his source code, it's because he gave every element its own ID. Every element he wrote its own ID and just
Oh
copied and pasted
god,
between them,
that's
making
not
mountain
okay.
CSS. And I was like, why? And why aren't you using classes? And he goes, what are those? And I was like, oh my god, he is
Were
cheating you.
the stuff that he gave IDs to though, were they all like relatively the same?
Yeah,
Okay, so classes would have been a viable solution there.
right, because remember, IDs have to be unique. Classes
Yeah,
can be applied to multiple elements.
yeah. Yeah, I just learned this shit and even I'm like, what the fuck do you think you're doing?
Yeah, no, it's kind of putting the cart before the horse there. Oh, cool, Google, great link.
Hey there, Google. We linked you in our hyperlink.
Google on.
Google. I've had that one so much.
Google Lemon.
I've also gotten that one a lot.
Yeah, from us.
No, not just from you guys. I've had this name for a while. I use it on almost everything that I have an internet name for. So, I've had some names even before you guys.
I'm pretty sure we were the first to say food lemon.
Okay. Even though you're not, I'll give it to you. Just because you're being persistent about it.
Sweet, that's all I needed.
Okay. But yeah, are we, like, done for today? Or is there more that you wanted to talk
sure.
about?
Let's say word time. If you have anything you want to learn about next time, We can, but I'd say for now we're done.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna